It was a chilly Wednesday morning in early October when the students of Maplewood Elementary School poured out of their classrooms for their mid-morning recess. The air held the kind of crispness that hinted at the fast-approaching winter, and the playground rang with laughter and the scrape of sneakers on pavement. The children's coats swayed as they ran, some heading for the swings, others racing to the monkey bars. Teachers stood nearby, chatting quietly and scanning the yard, with vigilant eyes. Among them was Miss Clara Jennings, a third-grade teacher known for her calm demeanor and deep love for animals. Little did she know, this recess would be unlike any other. The first sign that something unusual was happening came from a low whimper, soft and uncertain, nearly lost amid the laughter and shrieks of Tag. At first, no one noticed. Then a little boy named Eli, shy and quiet, standing apart from the others near the fence, pointed and shouted, "There's a dog!" Heads turned. At the edge of the playground, near the rusted chain-link fence that separated the school grounds from the dense trees beyond, stood a dog. He was medium-sized, maybe a mix of golden retriever and shepherd, but filthy and thin, with tufts of fur matted around his legs and mud caked into his paws. His ribs showed through his tangled coat, and there was something deeply sorrowful in his eyes, a lostness that clutched the heart even before he made a sound. The children gathered slowly, curiosity drawing them closer. Some moved cautiously, unsure. Others, including Eli, took tentative steps toward the dog, their tiny hands outstretched. The dog didn't run. He just stood there, as if unsure whether to flee or collapse. Then he took one hesitant step forward, his tail wagging low and slow. Miss Jennings approached quickly, concern knitting her brow. "Everyone stay back, okay? Let's give him space." Her voice was soft, firm. But as she neared, the dog sat down heavily and looked straight at her like he was pleading silently for something. Food, warmth, kindness, maybe even a second chance. The other teachers whispered among themselves, some suggesting animal control, be called. Others wondering aloud where he came from. But Clara crouched slowly and extended her hand. "Hey, sweetheart. Where did you come from, huh?" The dog inched forward, then stopped. His ears twitched. Then cautiously, he nudged, her hand with his nose. His fur was cold, his body trembling. Clara felt something in her heart shift. An instinct, maybe, or a memory of the golden retriever she'd lost to old age 2 years prior. Whatever it was, she couldn't walk away. The principal, Mr. Larson, came out, alerted by the whispers. He was a tall, imposing man who ran a tight ship. "Miss Jennings," he said, "we can't have a stray dog on school property." Clara stood. "He's not hurting anyone. He's scared. He might be lost. Look at him." Mr. Larson glanced at the dog, who now lay down on the cold concrete, his head resting on his front paws. Children were watching closely, many silent now, sensing the weight of something unspoken. Even the playground seemed quieter, like it too was holding its breath. "Animal control can pick him up," Mr. Larson said, though his voice had softened slightly. "We can't take risks." But Clara shook her head. "Give me an hour. Let me try to get him to the vet, see if he has a microchip. Please, I'll take full responsibility." There was a pause, and for a moment Clara thought he might say no. Then he gave a short nod. 1 hour. Relief washed over her. She knelt again, speaking softly to the dog. "Come on, boy. Let's go see if someone's looking for you." She looped a rope from the gym supply closet gently around his neck, and to everyone's amazement, he stood up and followed her, his steps slow but willing. As Clara led him off the playground, she glanced back. The children were still watching. Eli waved slowly. The dog turned his head and looked back at the children too. His eyes, still weary, held something else now. Maybe hope. And so, recess ended, not with the ring of a bell, but with a quiet sense that something had changed. None of them knew it yet, but the lost dog who had wandered into their playground would become more than just a stray. He would become a symbol, a lesson, and a healer in ways none of them could yet imagine. The cold wind rustled through the trees as Miss Clara Jennings carefully guided the dog into her aging Honda Civic. The seats were covered with an old floral blanket she had quickly grabbed from the teacher's lounge, and a small bowl of water sat on the floorboard. The dog, quiet, skeletal, and wide-eyed, settled into the back seat with a weary sigh, as if just being off his paws and out of the chill had lifted 1,000 pounds from his small, fragile frame. Clara glanced in the rearview mirror as she turned the key in the ignition. "You're safe now, buddy," she whispered. "We'll figure this out." The drive to Maplewood Animal Rescue took just 15 minutes, but it felt longer. Clara couldn't stop glancing at the dog in the mirror. Every time she did, she felt a knot tighten in her throat. There was something familiar in the dog's expression, a tired hopefulness, like he'd been let down many times before but was still daring to believe, just a little. His eyes weren't just brown. They were amber, flecked with gold and full of silent questions. At the rescue center, they were met by Denise, the longtime shelter manager with a heart as big as the facility itself. She was in her 50s, with frizzy red hair and a voice that instantly calmed even the wildest animals. "Clara, you've got a visitor, huh?" Denise said with a warm smile, kneeling down as Clara opened the car door. "He just walked onto the playground," Clara said. "Thin, lost, hungry. I couldn't just leave him." Denise gently extended a hand, and the dog sniffed it before pressing his nose into her palm. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured. "You've had it rough, haven't you?" They moved the dog inside to the intake room where the warmth was immediate and welcoming. The dog's ears perked slightly as the heat hit him, but his tail still didn't wag much, just one or two small, tentative flicks. They checked him for a microchip. Nothing. Clara felt her heart sink. "No ID?" Denise shook her head, frowning. "Nope, no chip, no collar. It's like he was never registered, poor guy." Clara sat down in a nearby chair, folding her hands in her lap. He just walked right up to the children, didn't growl, didn't bark, he just showed up. "He's gentle," Denise observed, looking at the dog as he curled up on the mat in the corner. "Too calm for a stray that's been roughing it long. Somebody had to have loved him once. He just got lost along the way." That hit Clara hard. She looked at him again, at the way he rested his head on his paw and blinked slowly, watching her with those deep, endless eyes. "I want to call him Chance," she said softly. Denise looked at her. "Chance?" Clara nodded, emotion creeping into her voice. "Because maybe this is his second one." Denise smiled. "I like that. Chance it is." They bathed him carefully. Clara insisted on helping. And as the dirt and grime came off, a beautiful golden red coat began to show through. He was painfully underweight, his ribs like blades beneath his skin. But when they wrapped him in a towel, he leaned into Clara's side, closed his eyes, and let out the softest sigh. In that moment, it wasn't just a dog being bathed. It was a soul being gently brought back from the edge. Later, Clara sat with Chance in a quiet room at the shelter, feeding him small spoonfuls of soft food. Denise had insisted they take it slow to avoid overwhelming his stomach. Chance ate delicately, as if still unsure whether the food was real or a dream. But after each bite, he looked up at Clara, as if to say, "Thank you. I wish I could take you home," Clara whispered. Denise, standing nearby, overheard her. "You know, fostering's always an option, just until we find a home." Clara's heart fluttered. Her apartment was small, and the landlord frowned on animals. "But maybe. I'll think about it," she said, though the truth was, she already knew. The next morning at school, the children buzzed with curiosity. "Did you take the dog home? What's his name? Is he okay?" Miss Jennings smiled, surprised at how quickly the dog had captured their hearts. "He's at a shelter right now," she explained. "They gave him a bath and checked him out. No chip, but he's safe. And I named him Chance." "Chance," Eli repeated, his eyes shining. "That's perfect." A girl named Ava raised her hand. "Can we meet him again? Please?" "I don't know," Clara began, but then she saw their eager, hopeful faces. "Maybe. Maybe soon. She saw something shifting in her class. The quietest kids had started to speak up. The rowdy ones were more gentle. They asked about Chance like he was one of them, like he'd become part of their little world. Even Eli, who had never spoken much in class before, had begun sketching pictures of the dog during free time, drawing big eyes and a wagging tail that hadn't quite appeared in real life yet. Something was changing, not just with Chance, but with all of them. That evening, Clara filled out the fostering paperwork and cleaned the spare corner of her apartment, setting out an old dog bed from years ago. When she brought Chance home, he sniffed the space and lay down slowly, curling up and letting out a deep, peaceful breath. He didn't move for hours, and Clara sat beside him on the floor, her back against the wall, watching him sleep. She didn't realize she was crying until one of the tears hit her hand, not because she was sad, but because she already knew. This dog hadn't just wandered into a schoolyard, he had wandered into all of their hearts. The following Monday brought a peculiar sense of excitement to Maplewood Elementary, one that buzzed through the hallways like electricity in the air before a storm. The children in Miss Jennings's third grade class could hardly stay in their seats. Even before the first bell rang, they were fidgeting, whispering, glancing toward the door with eyes full of impatient wonder. And then it happened. The classroom door creaked open, and Clara stepped inside. Not alone, but with Chance trotting gently at her side. He had a red harness around his chest, a blue leash looped through her hand, and a new collar with a tag that read simply, Chance. His coat, once grimy and dull, now shimmered in the soft morning light that filtered through the classroom windows. Though still thin and a bit unsure, he walked with purpose, like he knew he was walking into something more than just a room. He was walking into a family. A hush fell over the class as if they were witnessing something sacred. Chance paused just inside the door, looking from face to face. There was a moment where time seemed to pause, a space suspended in quiet wonder, and then, as if sensing he was safe, he gave one small, slow wag of his tail. "Class," Clara said with a smile trembling on her lips. "This is Chance." He took a few cautious steps forward, and then a miracle happened. Eli, the boy who rarely spoke, who often kept to himself in the corner of the room drawing in his sketchbook, stood up. He didn't say a word, just walked quietly toward Chance, his palms open, eyes soft. Chance stepped toward him, closing the space in seconds, and pressed his nose gently into Eli's hand. The classroom exhaled all at once. Gasps, sighs, quiet laughter. Clara blinked away tears. "Can he stay all day?" Ava asked, nearly bouncing in her seat. "Just for a little while," Clara replied. "As long as we keep things calm. He's still recovering, and he needs quiet, gentle energy." They made a cozy corner for Chance with a soft mat and an old blanket Clara had brought from home. The children took turns reading to him throughout the day, sitting cross-legged beside him with picture books, their voices quiet but full of expression. Chance seemed to listen, his head tilted, eyes half closed. When one student stopped, he would look up, almost like he was waiting for the story to continue. During art time, Chance lay near Eli, who sketched him with careful lines, capturing the curve of his ears, the glint in his eyes, the curl of his body as he napped in the corner. And something extraordinary began to happen in the classroom. Children who had once argued now worked together to fetch water for Chance's bowl. Those who were often too shy to read aloud suddenly found the courage, whispering stories into Chance's ears, finding bravery in the presence of this gentle listener. Even the class clown Joey, who often disrupted lessons with loud jokes, sat quietly next to Chance, stroking his fur with quiet reverence. It was as if Chance had walked into the room and pressed a reset button on their little world. The principal, Mr. Larson, stopped by mid-morning. At first, his brows drew together in a frown as if ready to scold. But then he saw Chance resting peacefully, children gathered respectfully nearby, and Clara standing at the front of the class with the softest smile. He lingered for a few minutes, watching. When he finally spoke, it was in a quiet voice. "He really is something," he said. Clara nodded. He's helping them more than I ever could have imagined. Mr. Larson looked at the children again, then at Chance, and finally at Clara. Maybe he can visit more often, he said, almost to himself. Clara's eyes lit up. That afternoon, as the final bell rang, the children filed out one by one, many of them stopping to pet Chance goodbye, whispering promises to see him again soon. Eli lingered the longest, his hand resting gently on the dog's head. "I think he likes being here," Eli said. "I think he likes you," Clara replied. Eli looked up at her, his eyes shining in a way she hadn't seen before. "When I'm with him, I don't feel so small." Clara felt a lump rise in her throat. She knelt down beside him. "You're not small, Eli. You're kind and brave. Chance sees that, and so do I." That night, as Clara drove home with Chance curled up in the back seat, she glanced at him through the mirror and smiled. "You changed them today," she said softly. Chance blinked slowly, then laid his head down and closed his eyes. Clara didn't know what would come next, how long Chance would stay with her, whether someone might claim him or whether he was meant to be hers all along. But she knew one thing for certain. This dog wasn't just healing, he was healing others. One child at a time, one heart at a time. And in the quiet, growing warmth of her apartment, as she settled down beside Chance with a cup of tea and a heavy heart softened by love, she realized she was being healed too, not by a vet, not by time, but by a dog who had once been lost, and who was now, without a doubt, found. The weeks that followed Chance's first classroom visit were like something out of a dream, one where everything just felt right. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Miss Clara Jennings would bring Chance to school. He would curl up near the reading nook, ears perked as children read aloud in soft voices, or he'd wag his tail gently while students practiced math, their little hands reaching out now and then to stroke his golden fur. Eli, especially, had changed. He now volunteered to read. He joined group discussions. He smiled more. In every drawing he made, Chance appeared somewhere, chasing leaves, lying under trees, sitting with the class during circle time. It wasn't just art anymore. It was love made visible. Even the other teachers noticed the shift. "Whatever magic that dog has," murmured Mrs. Patel from the 5th grade class. "We all need a dose of it." But as beautiful as everything was, the universe has a way of testing the heart when it's most vulnerable. It started on a rainy Thursday morning. Clara opened her front door to find the leash hanging loose, swinging in the wind. Chance was gone. Panic ripped through her chest. She tore through the small yard calling his name, checked every corner of the apartment, the nearby bushes, the garden gate she always latched. Except this time, had she? Had she really? Chance. Chance. Her voice cracked with each cry. But there was only the sound of rain. She called the shelter first, then the local vet. She knocked on neighbors' doors with trembling hands and blurry eyes, a damp flyer in her grip, already printed with his photo. Her shoes were soaked through. Her heart was heavier than stone. Hours passed. No one had seen him. Back at school, the children noticed Clara's absence first. It was Mr. Larson who came into the classroom that morning, quiet and gentle. "Miss Jennings won't be here today, kids," he said softly. "She's dealing with something important." "Where's Chance?" Ava asked immediately, her face falling. Mr. Larson sighed. "He got out last night. Miss Jennings is out looking for him." The room went still. Eli's pencil slipped from his hand. His eyes widened, and then, without a word, he stood up, walked to his desk, and opened his sketchbook. He tore out a page. It was a drawing of Chance beneath a tree, surrounded by children with happy faces. "I'm going to find him," he whispered. "Eli," Mr. Larson began, concerned. "You can't just—" "We all are," Ava interrupted, standing, clutching her pink water bottle. "We'll make signs." Joey, the class clown, raised his hand. "I can ask my big brother to help. He drives." What began as sadness suddenly became action. The class of 3rd graders, once divided by cliques and mischief, turned into a unit of purpose. By recess, they had drawn 20 flyers. By lunch, parents were calling the school, offering to help search. Local businesses started sharing posts online. One cafe even put a flyer in their front window with a handwritten message underneath. "Let's bring Chance home." Meanwhile, Clara was still walking in the rain. Her voice was hoarse from calling. Her feet ached, and her heart felt hollow. She stopped near the school, soaked and exhausted, and leaned against a telephone pole. It was then she saw it. A drawing taped to the pole. A child's sketch of Chance. Underneath it, in crayon-scrawled letters, were the words, "Please help us find our friend. We miss him." She pressed her hand to her mouth. They all missed him. He wasn't just her dog anymore. He was theirs. Suddenly her phone buzzed. It was Denise from the shelter. "Clara," she said breathlessly. "We just got a call. A man saw a golden dog on Old Pine Road near the edge of the forest. Said he looked scared. Could it be?" Clara was already running. She reached the tree line near Old Pine Road in less than 15 minutes. She called his name through the trees, her heart thudding in her ears. Rain dripped from the branches, turning soil to mud beneath her feet. And then, a bark, a single hoarse bark. Chance. She spun toward the sound, her breath catching, and there he was, caked in mud, limping slightly, his tail wagging in frantic bursts. "Chance," she screamed, falling to her knees as he ran toward her. She wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming down her face, burying her face in his wet fur. "I thought I lost you," she sobbed. "I thought I lost you." He nuzzled into her chest, licking her chin, whimpering softly. But she hadn't lost him. He had found his way back. That night, Clara texted the parents of every child in her class. "He's home. Safe. Thank you." The next morning, Clara didn't just walk into the classroom. She walked in with a limp-legged, sleepy-eyed Chance trailing behind her, tail wagging despite the bandaged paw. The moment the children saw him, the room erupted. Chance, he, was swarmed with tiny hands and soft words. He licked Ava's cheek. He let Eli wrap his arms around him. He nuzzled Joey's shoulder. It was pure joy, and it ended with the entire class gathered in a circle with Chance at the center, as Miss Jennings read aloud from a storybook titled, "The Dog Who Found His Way Home." But they all knew. This wasn't just a story. This was their story, and it was still being written. The final weeks of school unfolded like a gentle golden summer morning, warm, hopeful, and full of moments the children would carry in their hearts forever. Chance was now more than just a guest. He was woven into the very fabric of room 3B. His paw prints, though invisible, marked every corner of the classroom, every desk, every heart. After he had gone missing and come back, something had shifted, not just in the kids, but in the entire school. The hallways buzzed with kindness. Students picked up dropped books for others, waited more patiently in line, and even shared their lunches more freely. Teachers across grade levels spoke about the chance effect, a term Clara herself had never coined but had heard whispered like legend in the staff lounge. For the third graders, it was simple. They had found love in the shape of a dog, and love, once planted, never leaves you the same. One morning, about a week before the end of term, Principal Larson visited room 3B with a clipboard in hand and a rare twinkle in his eye. "Good morning," he said, adjusting his glasses. "I have a bit of a proposal." The class hushed, eyes wide. "Miss Jennings and I have been in conversation," he continued, "and, well, we've noticed something remarkable. This classroom and this dog have created something truly special." He paused, looking at the students, who were gathered around Chance, petting him gently as he lay stretched out, tail thumping lazily. "I'd like to formally recommend that Chance become Maplewood Elementary's official therapy dog." Gasps, cheers. One student even dropped their pencil in disbelief. Clara blinked, stunned. "Are you serious?" "As serious as a snow day," Mr. Larson replied, smiling. "We'll get him certified, of course. It'll take some work, but it means he can visit regularly, not just here, but throughout the school." The children erupted into applause. Eli sat silently, looking at Chance, then at Clara, then at Mr. Larson. His eyes were shimmering. "He saved me," Eli whispered. "He saved all of us." No one argued. No one needed to. On the last day of school, the sun blazed bright and unfiltered over the schoolyard. The children gathered under the old oak tree in the playground where, months before, a lost dog had wandered in and changed everything. Each student held a hand-drawn card or a note or a small handmade gift for Chance. A dog bone carved from clay, a painted stone with his paw print on it, a book titled Our Hero Chance, written by the whole class and illustrated with crayon drawings of their memories together. They all sat in a big circle, and one by one, they stood to read what Chance meant to them. Joey, once the class clown, stood first. Before Chance came, I felt like no one ever took me seriously. But he didn't care if I was funny or not. He just liked me. And that made me feel real. Ava stood next. When I cried because my mom had to work late, Chance let me hold him. I didn't have to say anything. He just knew. He made it better. Even Lily, the quietest girl in class, spoke up. He makes the world feel softer. When it came to Eli's turn, he walked up to Chance and knelt beside him. He didn't read from a card. He didn't bring a gift. Instead, he pulled something from his backpack, a sketchbook, edges worn, pages full. He opened it to the very last drawing, a portrait of Chance lying under the oak tree, surrounded by every student in room 3B. In the sky above them, in bold hand-drawn letters, were the words, "You found us. We'll never be lost again." Class fell silent. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks as she gently took the sketchbook and passed it around. Even Mr. Larson, usually composed and professional, wiped the corners of his eyes with a handkerchief. When the final bell rang, signaling not just the end of the day but the end of a school year, no one moved right away. They sat there under the oak tree, letting the moment settle into their bones like sunlight warming skin. Finally, Clara rose, brushing tears from her cheeks. "You know," she said softly, "some people think we teach kids how to live. But this year, you all taught me, and so did Chance." Chance barked once, tail wagging as if in agreement. The children giggled. Eli knelt beside him and gave him a big, long hug, and Clara knew this was not the end. It was a beginning. Epilogue. Years passed, children grew. They moved on to new classrooms, new schools, new cities. But they never forgot the year that Chance came into their lives. Clara stayed at Maplewood, and so did Chance. His photo now hung in the front hallway beside a plaque that read, "Chance, our healing heart," in honor of the dog who taught us how to be kind, how to listen, and how to love without condition. Eli returned to visit one day, older now, taller, more confident. He carried a portfolio of drawings and was applying to art school. He sat in the old classroom now used by another teacher and ran his fingers across the desk where he once sat beside a golden dog with wise eyes and a broken past. And as he walked back through the playground, he paused under the oak tree, smiled to himself, and whispered, "Thank you, Chance." And somewhere in the breeze rustling the leaves, there was a soft sound, almost like a tail wagging. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. It helps us share more stories like Chance's with the world. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Did this story make you cry? What part stayed with you the most? And most importantly, where are you watching from? Tell us the name of your city. We're building a community of dog lovers from every corner of the world, and your voice matters. Whether you're watching from a big city or a quiet little town, you are part of this story too. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming dog stories every week. Thank you for being here. This is Cutest Gallery, where every dog story deserves to be told.